Well, I think I've liked Overwatch as a game. I found it fun.
Of course.
But I think I mean this was ages ago. Like I was kind of just stuck in plat, and it didn't. I don't know. I felt like if I wanted to play this game, I kind of wanted to be good at it. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
And so that's what I started doing. I actually had some coaching, like previous coaching before,
Hmm.
from different people, and then that helped like a lot, and I think that helped with my understanding of the game. And I mean, I've been one tricking Zenyatta for
Oh, bless you.
yeah, since like this end of season 9, I
Brilliant.
started, and I was
Brilliant.
kind of like hard stuck in plat for a while, and then I through like through a bit of coaching and self improvement, I managed to get up to masters like two seasons ago, and then I've kind of just been a bit sort of sticking in masters 5 quite a lot, and then I did end up like somehow getting to masters 1 this season, and then I dropped back down to masters 4.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So I'm curious to see why Zen. That's the number one question. And then the number two question is, what was your improvement process like from getting coaching previously, that plat the masters transition? What did you improve at, whether it was understanding or execution? I want the full story.
Sure, yeah. I guess I'll start with why Zen. Well, the reason why I picked Zen, I think, uh, I mean, I did actually play Overwatch back in Overwatch 1, but I was more of a casual player,
Mm-hmm.
and I mainly just played Orisa. But when I came back, after I took like a long break because of uni, and I
Yeah.
came back to Overwatch, I I found out I didn't really actually like playing Orisa anymore.
Yeah. No halt sucks.
So so I decided to make a transition, and I just experimented with different characters.
Yep.
And I think I watched Awkward's Unranked GM on Zena, and
Yep. Yep.
I was like, oh, well, actually this character looks really fun. So I decided to give him a try. And yeah, no, he's definitely. I just find him really fun. I tried other characters, and I don't. It doesn't hit the same for me. So
Well, you're
that's.
talking to the right guy because that Zen's my guy. He's my favorite character. More hours in Zen than any other character, and I agree. There's something about the simplicity feels very satisfying, right?
Mm.
So the improvement process, what did that look like? You said Awkward's Unranked GM got you into the character, so I assume that some of those principles also assisted you in actually like learning the character too.
Yeah, definitely. I think because I was I mean yeah, so I had some coaching
Mm-hmm.
from because if like Awkward's like RUA thing
Yeah, yeah,
that
Rank Academy.
he's doing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that actually helped a lot for
Nice,
me in
nice.
regards to just I think because like he was explaining a lot of like the fundamentals um in your decision making for
Mm-hmm.
just any character. I guess it just made a lot of sense, and
What
so
what stuff did
uh,
you learn to apply? I think Awkward does a really good job coaching support. So I'm curious to see
mm,
what kind of worked for you.
uh sorry, in what sense can you
So like what kind of decisions, what kind of movement,
oh,
positioning
okay,
tips,
right,
like what kind of
right,
advice, like specific advice that really
okay,
helped you?
okay. So I think it was uh, the way that he broke it down that made it seem a lot easier. For example, I mean just going on the fundamentals
Yeah.
that you're teaching was using cover usage, distance management,
Yes.
rotations,
Yes.
off angling,
Yes.
and I think I might be missing one, but
I
yeah.
mean that's a lot right there. Yeah, makes sense. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
so really what it's about is, getting a lot of reviews or even live coaching, and then you get some feedback about how you played and sort of like what you should be working on.
Yep.
and then that, and I was able to, I guess, just okay, try and work on that. And yeah, no, it's definitely helped. Like even like the in my first weeks, from I mean, this was a while ago, but back when I was in Platt, um, I was working. I just solely working on like distance and my cover, and then that shot me straight up to diamond like immediately. So,
Yeah. Good,
uh,
good, good, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Now you're getting coaching from me, so obviously you're like looking to take it to the
yeah,
next level here. Goals for you is that you want to be one of the best Zenyatta players who want to try and improve to the point,
yeah,
like an hit GM and so on.
yeah, I think yeah, I just really like Zenyatta, and I just want to see, I guess, where I can take him, and what I can, what I can do, because really, I just want to try and make him work as much as possible. He's
Yeah.
fun.
Okay. I want an idea on what I need to do to improve in game. I want an understanding of what my strengths and weaknesses are, what I should be thinking, considering in game, and approach play against compositions and scenarios that I'm uncomfortable with. So none of this is really fancy outside of the last one. I think all of that is pretty self-explanatory. We'll get to it today. Yeah. But the last one is interesting, and obviously a very important part as somebody who's played a lot of Zenyatta is the
Yeah,
comp stuff. Because not the most flexible sport ever, right? So,
yeah.
what are those situations that you feel uncomfortable in terms of I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do, or maybe I do, but I just can't quite seem to get it right? What compositions,
Um,
scenarios?
I guess in regards to scenarios, yeah, it depends. It depends really, but I guess either one, it's comps that I'm I say uncomfortable with in either I haven't really played against him. I mean, like I played against a lot of comps, a lot of comps in the few seasons that I have because I've played him. I have like
Sure.
around 400 hours on Zenyatta
Yeah, if you one trick, you're
already.
gonna run into some. You're gonna run into everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess yeah, there are still some more a lot more uncommon. Like I didn't really go against I usually don't have any problem with them, but I usually don't go against like Zenyatta's or something like that. But I guess for like what I feel like most uncomfortable with is when they have a lot of dive, and I know sort of the things you should be doing against dive, but at the same time it feels like you're treading a fine line between being passive and feeding. uh you know um
Yeah. The two main things with dive that I've learned. I don't know if you saw the Zenyatta hero misery thing,
hmm,
which I posted on YouTube. It was basically me playing versus Ball Somber Tracer, and it was basically it's like the three steps is knowing where enemies are, rotating accordingly, and then hitting your shots.
hmm,
And
hmm.
if you have a code, like did codes get wiped?
They did, but I played some games today, so
OS.
I've got
Did you
some.
play anything versus any dive characters?
um I can have a quick look.
Yeah, because I'm curious if that's the case. Because that's gonna directly, because we'll be able to actually like, because we could talk the theory for sure, but it would be optimal if we could actually like look at something.
Yeah. Okay, there is, yeah, there is one I have, which I guess it's not really, I mean it's like semi dive because they have a
That's fine.
monkey and a tracer.
That's fine. That's fine. It like, not to plug my own content here, but that
Mm,
might be where if you end up having like 20 minutes, 1.25 the Zenyatta hero misery thing I put a few days ago, or I guess 9 days
mm,
ago, because it's basically describing exactly what you're just talking about, which is playing Zen into dive. The theory is basically constantly rotating away from threats, even though you are
yep,
slow, never being surprised by any engagement. The reality of the situation is, and this is kind of where you have to kind of pay the tax, even if you do that perfectly, if they want you dead, you're dead. So, how expensive can you make your death? How much damage can you do?
yep.
How many cooldowns can you force? And that's kind of like what I was having to learn how to do. And that's kind of the same theory for you as well. So what we'll try to do is remind me if I forget. But if we do get to one of your codes, we'll try to talk about like how this would apply if they were on this character and so on.
Okay.
Anything else when it comes to scenarios or compositions where you're uncomfortable? So dive specifically. Anything else?
Um, I guess a little with like I don't know what you call this kind of comp, but it's something I've only really noticed when I was starting to hit like when I was going to my Master 2 and Master 1, I started to notice some of these comps where it's like they'll just be like I don't know what they're called, but they're like just really fast comps. Like they'd have
Yeah,
like a Lucio with I don't know like a Junker Queen and
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
a Juno or something like that, and they'd just be really really fast.
You need to be
And
inaccessible for 3 seconds. That's the rule. Like the thing with those compositions is not only are they very short range, but they're also generally more tempo oriented, which means that
hmm,
they have a burst in value that immediately drops off. So for
okay,
you, you're a much more sustained pressure. You don't have cooldowns. You don't have really any spikes in value, right? You're just constantly there. So if you don't die in the first 2 or 3 seconds, you are going to outvalue their entire composition.
right,
So you would need to find the position anticipating where they're going to rotate, where they're going to go. How can I put myself in a position to where I can smoke a blunt and chill for 5 seconds and then pop off, right? And if you could do that, you're going to win. Now, to be honest with you, that's hard. That's hard. We talk about
hmm.
one-tricking Zenyatta and a Leeching Tower Control Center. Good luck, right? Unironically, there might be situations where you might have to hide for a second, right? You might have
Right.
to rotate co-side or do something crazy just to buy yourself some time, because the reality is that if you're able to keep yourself alive, you're just going to win those games. You're going to win those games. It's
Okay.
hard, but you're going to win those games. Um, okay, does that all make sense?
Yeah. And I guess and now that I'm thinking about it more, not exactly against different enemy comps, but my own team comp.
Yes.
I think sometimes with either if we have like I think the hardest is when we have a low sustain. Like let's say like it's rare, but
Ah.
sometimes I get like a one trick Lucio. Sometimes it actually works out. I sometimes it does, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, or on not and not okay, not the Lucio, but like with ball comps, because it's like it's just a bit. It feels almost like a bit more free for all than anything because we don't exactly
Yeah.
have a tank of sorts.
Yeah. Okay. So we tested this theory in Pugs once. Now, to be honest, it was a coordinated environment, so it's slightly different. We
Hmm.
played a Reinhardt comp with Zenyatta Lucio just to see how it would function. It's better than you think. The logic is that essentially with Zenyatta Lucio, you put so much pressure on the enemy tank that your tank is allowed to be essentially just as free, even though he has fewer resources.
Okay.
So the reality of the situation is that it can work. You just need to play well. That's it.
Okay.
I actually found because I was playing Ryan in that comp, they had like Ana Lucio or something like that, Bap Lucio. Basically, what would happen is I would play kind of like I'd try to avoid taking any poke damage, and then I would go in.
Yeah.
Enemy Ryan's discorded. I'm just free swinging because like if he drops his shield, he takes headshots from Zen onto the face, and then he has like LOS Discord. It's like the tank has to play super disciplined around timing, but
Right.
it's doable. Now you can't control what your tank does, right?
Of course.
But you can still provide value. It's not optimal, but it's fine. It works. And it especially works when you got Junker Queen or Sigma or Wrecking Ball or Doomfist or Zarya, right? Then it's actually, I think it's quite underrated.
Okay.
I wouldn't
Okay.
necessarily change. I would just focus on playing well. And yeah. Now, you gave me a wall of text, all right? And I want to read through this if possible. Some of this might be outdated, but I think it's all going to be really important. Is that all right?
Okay.
So, what do you feel is holding you back from improving? You talk about how it's difficult to answer, so you'll try to break down each part. You feel like your mechanics are inconsistent, and I think this is somewhat due to your own gameplay in my distance management and my target priority, where sometimes it feels like I'm either too close, too far, or I don't really have a specific target in mind, or there are better targets for me to shoot. Your aim holds you back more at times, but I wouldn't say this is one of the more pressing issues. So, for you, whenever it comes to mechanics, is the playtime consistent? Is your sleep consistent? Is your warm up consistent? And if the answer is yes, 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 then that's pretty much it. But you got to ask yourself,
Uh,
are those three things consistent?
I think that the first two are consistent. I don't really warm up before, but sometimes I do.
You should. You should. You should load up Vaxta, listen to a single song, and then you're done. 3 minutes.
Okay.
Like
All
legitimately,
right.
legitimately. I mean, deathmatch is also really good, right? Whether
Mm.
that's try hard or not, but like I think like legitimately take just rapid mechanic exposure. One of the other things you can do with mechanics with the Zenyatta as well is there's more drills with other characters. Let me just start stream here. But with Zen, one of the things that I really like to do to like really accelerate my mechanical warm up is not just spam. I mute myself. I pressed the wrong button. Is not just spam, but to exercise trigger discipline,
Right.
which I'm, and you're familiar with the term, right? So it just basically means that I'm not just like spam, 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 but I'm actually like, right? I'm slowing down each
Yeah.
shot. And like this is, you do this for 3 or 4 minutes, you're gonna be warm. You're gonna be warm. You're gonna be warm.
Okay.
And you can even notice that like what I'm doing is I'm like I'm synchronizing my movement, like my strafe patterns with the shots as well. And every shot I miss is probably because I mistimed the shot or I misread their movement, right? So what you do is you just
Okay.
slow things down. You do this for 3 or 4 minutes. You could even turn the audio off and just like chill. This is going to be worth your time. If you don't warm up consistently, most do it. People don't do it because it's boring.
Right.
So you need to lower the barrier to entry for warm up and make it shorter, right? If you make it
Okay.
shorter, you'll be better at doing it consistently. That would be my recommendation. Now, beyond that, mechanical inconsistency is also pretty normal because it might be how much pressure were you under, physiological, psychological stuff.
Mm.
The last thing I would encourage you to remind yourself of is that remember, mechanics is a two-way street. It is your mechanics and the enemy movement. So if you have
Yeah.
a game where you feel like you're bad aim, it might be just the enemy's movement. Might not, but it might be. So don't overthink it too much.
Okay.
Don't overthink it too much. Control the factors that you can control and then let go of the rest. Your
Yeah.
movement could also use some improvement and is difficult to do so during a game. Now, when you say movement, what aspect of your movement is bad?
Well, okay. What I mean by movement is uh basically just dodging. Um. Yeah. Yeah. It's just making it difficult for people to hit you. And I think I have a good idea of how movement should be, and I think I think I'm all right in it. I do try to practice it uh with some friends. Basically, just we have this code, and we just pop on like widows, and then we just take turns like going around trying to go from A to B while not dying to the widow shot. So like just stuff like that. And maybe yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I mean by movement. It's just trying to dodge shots. But I guess um uh on that I guess I wanted to ask is like too much movement bad? Is like could that like and what I mean by like
I know what you
strafing
mean.
basically.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you mean.
So
So I'm gonna be real. I appreciate that what you're doing for movement right now. Like you are putting some time into it, but I don't think it's very effective use of your time.
okay.
The way that you practice movement is you go, what do I need to practice? And then you practice that. For me, one of the things that I had is I spam strafe way too much, so my hitbox would
Yeah.
actually move, right? And that's especially bad. Do you know who that's especially bad versus? What type of heroes?
Uh would it be um
Tough question.
uh, yeah, I guess I don't know.
Let me give you a question. Is rapid dropping, crouching, strafing good versus like a hit scan Cassidy, Widowmaker?
Uh well no, because you're basically standing still then.
Basically, right? So spam strafing is bad versus everybody. Okay, so then when do you AD strafe?
Uh
Not spam strafe, but do it
yeah,
properly.
yeah, 80 straight. Well, I mean, I usually try to do it mainly either one when I'm doing a 1v1 with someone just to make it harder for them to
Sure.
hit me, especially if I'm like caught out in the open or something. Then yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. But
trying
see,
to
you're
move to some cover or something.
right. So
With
it's a good answer, but it's not good enough because your answer is too vague. Okay. You need to be specific with your matchups if you really want to improve your movement by a lot. You don't even have to do it well. You just have to be aware of it. So, for example, let me give you just a couple of more strafing is better versus hit scans because of the individual points of damage. Okay.
right.
But versus more tracking oriented characters and or heroes with larger projectiles like Junkrat, you do not want to spam strafe. You want to do long strafes. Okay. For example,
Okay.
let me kind of pull this back up on stream really quick. So if and it makes sense when you think about it. So strafing throws off your aim, yeah. So you got to ask
Yeah.
yourself, who's more important to throw off aim wise? Let's look at this character. Should I spam strafe versus this character?
I mean, probably not like spam the. Yeah, I
And would I do like rapid
maybe like
spamming like
maybe.
this? Should I do rapid spamming like
No,
this
no,
or
definitely
long?
not. Definitely not.
Right,
Like
because there's travel time, right?
medium one. Yeah.
So I want to make the Echo think that I'm moving this way and then juke the other way. But if I do this, she just throws stickies in the middle and I'm cooked, right? All right.
Yeah.
What about this character? Long strafes or short strafes?
Um, I guess more of those longer strafes. 'Cause
Longer
there's
strafes, right?
projectiles.
Again, projectile, and my time to kill is very important, okay? What about this character?
Probably shorter strafes because
Okay. Okay. When is the question. You see what I'm saying? Because think about her primary fire. You got me? It's projectile. So you don't want to spam strafe, but you might do something like this when she has rail.
Yeah,
see
I
what
mean,
I'm
I
saying?
don't think I'd ever like spam strafe.
Right,
Like
right.
what I mean by short strafes, like yeah, like basically.
Yeah, but
sort
only
of
when
like
she
that.
has rail.
Yeah.
You kind of see what I'm saying? What about this character? Is there any point spamming strafing versus this character? Like ever?
No. No.
Right? So it's all I need to hit my shots. So I'm going to do some movement to not make myself too predictable as I wait for it. Bam! But I'm still going to have to strafe some. Now,
Yeah.
what about this character?
I mean, I mean, if you have a face off against Akira, it's probably because she's close distance on you. And she's pretty close to you, so
Yeah,
like sort of short, but
Sort of
also
short? Yeah. You're asking the right questions here, right? What you could also do is you could experiment with this too. What about this character?
yeah. I mean, I'd also go for like short because he has to actually.
Yeah, agreed. So what you
very
do is
high-
you might spam
rate.
a little bit more, right? You might spam a little bit more. Now, what about this character?
Yeah, I guess for Genji it's a bit difficult because like he can pretty much just right click and then dash to engage. I mean I really kind of prefer to be around some cover really and then kind of duck in weave in between covers rather.
Right, but for
if I
strafing
can-
specifically, for Genji.
I guess longer strafes because he just has his free shurikens which they cover like a quite a wide angle.
Yes,
So.
correct. What about this character?
Probably longer strafes as well because tracking.
Yeah, but not just tracking. Also because whose shots are more important, hers or yours?
Definitely mine.
Definitely yours. So you need to make your aiming easier with her. See, that's the
Yeah.
problem is you get panicky with Tracers and Genjis and they start doing like this and they just die. Because they're missing all their shots and they're not missing their shots in them. That's where your movement needs to improve. You need to think, when I dueled a Widowmaker, what was my movement like? When I got doped by Tracer, what was my movement like? And you need to fix that. You need to fix that. So for longer strafes, stuff like this, you could even have like little things like you actually shoot at the end of the strafe so that you're moving, like you're standing still for just a brief moment. Do you see that? Right? So I'm just shooting and shooting. Because if I shoot while I'm strafing, then my crosshair is moving. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are little things that you can work on, but I think the best way to work on your movement is to consciously practice it and consciously change how you're moving depending on what you're playing versus and practice.
Okay.
Best place to practice that, deathmatch, by far. Second best place to practice that is to go into ranked. And I'm not joking. Your only goal is to work on your movement depending on your matchups.
Right, right.
And if you're not being dove or you're not 1v1ing, work on stuff like your trigger discipline or crosshair placement. You get what I'm saying? So you can work on your mechanics, so you could drill your mechanics in the competitive environment. And I think doing that at least sometimes is really important because anybody can pop off with movement and deathmatch. But can you actually take and apply that in game? What's the point if you can't? You know, what's the entire point of drilling a deathmatch if you can't apply it in game? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
that makes sense.
Going back to how you're drilling movement earlier, all you're really doing is drilling movement versus a Widowmaker scoping in on you. Is that useful? Of course it's useful. But that's
But
the
I think it's
only
useful
thing you're
against
drilling.
widows. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's useful versus widows. But see, what Jonak here is doing is useful versus Hanzos, not widows. You get what I'm saying? This is movement that's good versus Hanzo, but if you're only drilling versus Hanzo and you move like this versus a Widowmaker, you're dead. You kind of see what I'm saying? So that's what I want you to practice. Now you can practice that while you're warming up. You could practice that for ranked games. I don't really care how you practice it, but that's how you practice it. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So we talked about that with mechanics. We talked about that with movement. Character-specific mechanics. Mentality's good. I shouldn't focus on the team. The mental of the game does get to me, but I usually try to stop playing for a while before I get back on. I think everybody has those moments with Overwatch. I don't think anybody has a perfect mental with Overwatch, so that's fine. Good understanding. But I have a much harder time trying to implement. This is too noisy. I'm going to try to leave this here. I do have a hard time trying to implement that into games, and it does hold me back. I think the way that I try to improve does hold me back, but I do try and focus on single fundamentals to try and improve during games, and I self-VOD around once a day. Well, that's a lot. You probably don't need to do that. I might do like an evaluation check where if you have a really bad game or a really bad couple of fights, you're like, what could I have done differently here? Maybe you look at a couple of those fights, but I would not recommend VOD reviewing every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do that. There's only so much new information that you can take in. It's more about applying and drilling those information, and then honestly just having fun. I might be spending too much time playing though, and not enough time self-reflecting, VODing. I think the opposite. I think self-reflection always good, right? I think you can self-reflect as much as you like, but VODing not good. I've worked with a couple of players. I even worked with a streamer a while ago, who was VOD reviewing every day. Did not work well. Did not work well. It wasn't just VOD reviewing with me. They were VOD reviewing with a lot of other coaches as well. And she basically had like constant influx of information, and she never really actually mastered anything. And she also didn't have any original thoughts, which is really important. You should take advice from Awkward, and you should take advice from me, and so on. But you need to kind of learn the game yourself as well, right? Like you need insight from me, and so that's where you self-reflection and self-VOD review and just playing the game is really important. So okay, I try talking to myself during the game about what I'm doing, but I do find that quite difficult. Yeah, it's awkward. It's awkward. I don't think that that's necessarily the best way of doing it. I find myself making the same mistakes over and over again. That's normal. That's not a problem with you. It's very difficult to remove errors from play. Think about it this way. I don't know if you're familiar with basketball at all, right? But like free throws, I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of just like shooting from the free throw line, right? These guys are professionals, okay? And they make like 80% of those. They miss 20% of those easy shots that they have done tens of thousands of times. You know, that's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. Like you're going to continue to make errors. The highest level players continue to make basic errors. The question is the frequency of those errors is probably lower than you. And the other thing is the frequency of doing the right thing. Because it's not just about avoiding errors. It's also about making good decisions, right?
Yeah.
So don't be worried about like stamping out errors entirely. Just reduce the frequency. Or make more good choices, you know? I would not be... If you're making the same errors over and over and over again, despite VOD reviewing and whatever, it's more about how you're practicing, the level of sleep that you're getting, or maybe how much you're playing, or even if you're taking breaks and allowing yourself to kind of like mentally recharge before the next game. That's the problem. It's not understanding.
Yeah.
It's not understanding. Okay. Any questions so far?
No. What you said so far makes sense.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more that later. I've had a weird problem that's come twice, where one day I would feel like I completely stopped understanding how to play the game at all, where everything that was happening made zero sense. The first was when I first hit Masters and I dropped away to D5 without understanding what I was doing. It happened again, took me a while to reach Masters again.
Yeah. I mean, they basically, I don't know. Sometimes it felt like I just started playing significantly worse, and I was, yeah, I think
L-
it,
Let me give you
like,
a life
and
hack.
this is
Let me give
when,
you a life hack. Let me give
right,
you a life hack. Ready? When that happens, take a deep breath and don't worry about practicing. Just play the game for fun.
all
Literally
right,
play the game for fun. Just have fun. I know you're gonna be
mm,
like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. You don't need to know what you're doing. Just play. Just play.
back up.
I think it's healthy to have periods of time where you're literally just chilling. You're just playing to win. Playing. I think that I'll have to send you, remind me later, a little video essay on a study they did where that having like a certain percentage of your games where you are literally just playing for fun is actually good for improvement. So if you ever find yourself accidentally in that situation because you're all of a sudden gaslighting yourself like I don't know how to play Overwatch anymore, don't worry about it. Just play.
Right.
Literally just play. Because I promise you the drop that happened was because you got concerned about how you felt, not
Mm,
because of how you actually felt. It's like, oh no, I'm worried that I don't know how to play anymore, so I'm trolling the game. Let yourself troll the game. Don't worry about it. You'll
okay.
be fine. Try. Don't feel like, oh, everything, like you're what's happening is deer in headlights. It's okay to be in the middle of the street. You just can't freeze. You just play. That's the rule.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it's easier said than done, right? I mean, that's just a forehead. Just don't worry, easy, right? Don't stress. But if you want my opinion, is like if you do stress or if you do feel yourself lost, it's not the end of the world. And heck, you've already proven that because you've had these moments and look at where you are, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't forever. You bounce back. You'll be fine. Okay. Any other questions?
No, that's what the questions I had.
So actionable stuff for you. Okay. First one is I want warm up. I
Yeah.
want consistent warm up. I want a good warm up from you, and I want it to be easy. Okay. Next
Okay.
thing is I want an easy and accessible movement routine, which would be either correlated with deathmatch, with 1v1ing friends. You know, get practice with the Widow
Right.
1v1s, practice the Cass 1v1s, practice the Hanzo 1v1s, or even just ranked, just straight up ranked. You go into ranked, you're practicing your mechanics and your movement around the different matchups.
Yeah.
And then with, I want you taking breaks between games. Like while you're in queue, get up, move around 30 seconds to a minute. Right. I know this is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
information. And then I'd probably VOD review less. Just like have more fun games, I guess I would say. Like have like
Okay.
let's say like 2 hours of 2 to 3 hours of like intense practice, and if you're playing like 4 hours a day, like have like the last hour just chill, just play for fun,
Yeah. Sure.
And I also recommend like how you approach. I don't know how you approach practice right now, but you probably should not be just practicing the same thing for an entire day. Certainly not for an entire week.
Mm.
I think variety is like the spice of life, right? So for me, I find that I enjoy like mixing up when I'm practicing a great deal. So you might
Yeah.
do something with that as well. So like if you're like maybe you want to practice mechanics for 2 games and then practice some
Yeah.
positioning. Maybe you roll out versus a dive comp and you're like, all right, this is my moment to practice on my positioning, and that's when you work on it. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Any other
Yeah.
questions?
No, that so far, yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Do you want to shoot over some codes?
Yeah, sure. So okay. Well, I mean, I've got two codes where which I think. Well, okay. The dive one, I suppose. It's it's probably not the greatest code. But it is. It's yeah. It is an alright code. And yeah. So that's the dive. That's the one with the dive. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
If
one isn't dive, but it is also pretty good
okay.
code.
Yeah, maybe
I'd
this
say it's
is.
the
You said you didn't think this code was like kind of tragic from you.
yeah, it was I mean it was
All
fine.
right, so I'm gonna be real. Let's look at it from like if it's really bad, I can give you some feedback here and there, but maybe we just use this as like a looking at it from a theory standpoint.
Yeah.
And then we don't worry too much. So I'm not gonna give you the rigmarole of like, what is the theory of Zenyatta? It's just shoot people in the face and just maintain your distance. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Keep Harmony Orb and people who are actively doing things, especially if they're squishy, and the same thing goes for Discord. Like this, I'm just going to zoom, and if I see anything mechanical or micro, or if you see anything that you're like, oh, I wanted to ask about this, just yell and I will pause and we'll talk about it. But like, right now, there's like nothing really. One little thing here that could be worth putting is Did you want to rotate away from this angle because of Tracer?
Um,
I know
I
this should be
was,
recent, so I'm gonna ask you some questions that you may not remember,
yeah.
but
I do remember like I started rotating before, so and I thought to myself, could I have stayed there a little longer just to do a bit more damage? Because I didn't actually take any damage, and I just decided to
let me
rotate
be
to a
honest with
new
you.
angle. But I guess I,
You and I both know that that's not good enough, right? Because you might take
mm,
zero damage, then just be one shot. That's how Zenyatta
yeah,
works, right? No defensive cooldowns. So I guess that's just like you said. That's just the question you have to ask yourself: is do I need to rotate? Because the answer will be 45-50% of the time, yes, right? If the answer is no,
mm,
keep shooting. Like right now, the problem is simply your movement got really awkward. You kind of stood in the open. You turn to
yeah,
Harmony Orb. You eat Alt Fire. You don't get to cover quick enough. And then there's basically like a solid like 5 seconds where you're actually not hitting a single shot. And then even worse, you're charging Alt Fire with targets in front of your face.
yeah. I think it's just like 'cause sometimes I have like a bad habit of going into um uh yeah, secondary fire when I'm like when I just can't really, because I was like, the trace is suddenly on me and I'm trying to use cover, and I just, I don't really
Yeah.
exactly know what's happening, so sometimes it's a bad habit sometimes.
Do you see the error here? So what really snowballs it for you? What moment snowballs it for you?
uh
It feels like that, yeah?
yeah.
So why did you do that?
Well, what I wanted to do is I wanted to, because I went from that angle over there. I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
let me try to open up my angle a bit and see if I can shoot
Correct.
enemies
Correct.
over here. And then I saw the Genji and I saw someone behind, and I was like, okay, I'll just shoot here a bit. And then I saw my soldier getting low, so I wanted to help him out a bit.
So why
So
doesn't
that
he
was
already
kind of
have
the
Harmony Orb?
um. To be honest, I was probably thinking about yeah, I think I was just thinking more about shooting than about the harmony of. Sometimes I do forget about it sometimes.
I would go even deeper than that. I think the problem here is that you see crit tank.
Mm,
You see? This is
yeah.
not the play. This is not enough healing. This is a DPS passive tank that can roll away. This is a mistake.
Okay.
Because not only does it shift the attention away from Mei, who needs it, not right now, but will need it, and or the soldier, who obviously is probably going to benefit from it, but it also shifts your attention away from shooting this Winston, who gets out alive. That's your fault.
Right.
Now, we can butterfly effect this and say that is the mistake, because then you miss the kill, and then because your Harmony Orb's on the tank instead of the squishy, they then need Harmony Orb mid-fight, which is the absolute worst time for you to be rotating your Harmony Orb, because then not only obviously awkwardly positioned here, right? So you have to pivot, but also turns your attention away from the most important time to shoot, which is right now. And you're not even looking. You can't even see. So then you're kind of caught in like this endless cycle of like, I'm always a little bit behind. I'm always a little bit behind. And now you're screwed.
Yeah.
So you put yourself in an impossible situation by cycling Harmony Orb onto a tank that didn't need it at the worst possible time when you need to be putting pressure. So I know it sounds like I'm really, really splitting hairs here, but that's probably a problem that we see reflected more often with your gameplay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. Okay. No. That makes sense. I'm guessing. Um. I guess on that. Like, would there be times where like, so sometimes I just kind of ignore the harmony orb for a little bit just to put pressure when
Yes.
I really
Yes.
need to.
Yes, exactly. Like those crucial moments, like it is more important for you to be able to, because think about it this way, like you ended up a little bit too close. Your cover usage was messy, as were your mechanics, and then you also like randomly threw an alt fire. I'm going to make a prediction that all of those problems were because you didn't have the brain space because you were too busy thinking about Harmony Orb at the worst possible time.
Oh no, I wasn't thinking about harmony orb. Like that's more auto. Actually, what I've been trying to focus on for was like more more like my rotations and
Yes,
like
but
rotating
but
basically.
let me point out when you were thinking about Harmony Orb. It was right here.
Right.
It was at so you weren't thinking about Harmony Orb generally, but you were here. And
Mm.
this is when you needed to be thinking about rotations, right? Or your mechanics, and you weren't. I mean, come on, look at the look, right?
Yeah.
Like it is
Yeah.
comedically bad timing, right? This is when you
Mm.
would need to be thinking about rotations, but you couldn't because you were thinking about something else.
Right.
So freeing up brain space so that you could think about mechanics when you need to. Like now, okay, Harmony Orb and Tank, fine. Like, not the end of the world. But frankly here, I would not be rotating my Harmony Orb. I would not be rotating my Harmony Orb here if I can avoid it. I need to shoot this Tracer and Winston. I must. So if I see you rotate Harmony Orb here, and you are, that's the problem. This isn't,
Yeah.
if this is this important to you, then you should have, before the fight started, known that this guy would take space. Like, for example, the mistake is partly here. Right? Because you cycle it onto Ball. Ball
Right.
can use it. Sure, it's nice, it's helpful. But then if you then have to cycle it mid-fight, like you do now, that is brain space wasted that you need now. So you got a choice. You either put the Harmony Orb, invest the Harmony Orb where it's going to be needed mid-fight so that you could focus on mechanics, or you commit to saying, you know what, screw it. This guy could use it. I'm going to leave it on him so I can focus on my mechanics. That's your choice.
Okay.
You're trying to do both, and it's costing you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. Okay.
Good trance.
That makes sense.
Good trance. I actually like the angle here. This is pretty high risk, high reward. You're down a person. You kind of have to gamble a little bit here. Harmony
Yeah.
Orb's good as well. Yeah, I mean, this is just, can you hit the shots? And that's pretty much it. I would say like a minor thing here. So we could talk a little bit about the matchup here because it's Zen.
Yep.
So you just needed to get to the angle sooner, and that's pretty much all there is. That and a little bit of ammo management. Like, you needed to get to the angle here sooner, and I think you just clonked into the wall. So that's it.
Okay. Yeah. I try to. Yeah. This isn't that great. Like I try to make a play here, and it didn't work. I probably shouldn't have done it because I didn't have friends.
I want to see. Well, it doesn't matter. You're stuck either way, right? So
Yeah.
like, I think you missed wave respawn as well, so you might as well.
Yeah, I was just waiting like a little bit for my team to engage and just try and get people off.
It works for me.
off
You
top.
just screwed it up. This is what you screwed
Yeah.
up. Okay, so obviously like that's whatever, right? But
Yeah.
crucially here, you know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
So where should you go?
Yeah, I do. I should just go behind cover for
Go
like
behind cover.
a second.
There's also a minion here. Get in here. Come on. Don't tell me if he if he dashes in here, you can win this. You know you can.
Yeah,
You know you
I
can.
mean, if he dashes in and
Yeah.
and he misses because I use cover, yeah, I could have won that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he has to use the dash to close the distance, so he can't 180 on you anymore. You could maybe grab mini. Maybe he turns a corner to flex. Like, I'm pretty confident. Like, you almost win it anyway, right? Yeah, this is fine. This is honestly, despite you misplaying it, like, you're gonna catch wave respawn. This is fine. It was a reasonable play. Yeah, I was gonna say, waiting for this rotation here. There you go.
Yeah, I was thinking of going bottom right, but then I heard a tracer, and I was like,
Yeah,
I didn't really wanna do that.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And this is just another one of those weird situations where it's like, there's just immense downtime. So you're kind of
yeah.
thinking about an angle here, and this is fine, but you kind of need to, honestly, like, you're down one, mate. You need to push the advantage. Like, this, you have to peek this out because you're gonna lose. You need to go. I want to see you go. And this is too low reward, right, for the risk. Like, kill this. I want a 5 orb that kills 2 people. right? Yeah, this is fine. Whatever. Okay, let's go next. So, remember the rule. You either commit to the orb on your cast, or you commit to the orb to your Winston, and then you open up opportunities for you to damage orb. I don't want you to think that you're never allowed to cycle Harmony Orb mid-fight. Just understand that that's kind of the exception, not the rule, right?
Okay.
Oh, she wasn't even aiming for you. That's funny. Check it out.
Here goes nothing.
Yeah.
Damn. It was Yeah.
I think you were thinking about, hey, I have trance, I want to take an aggro angle. I'll say a little bit as well. I don't want to overanalyze things as well, but if we're looking at your mechanics, what do you see about your mechanics here? We're going to go back to the pulse fight. Watch your mechanics. So, seems okay, right?
Yeah.
Here goes nothing.
Seems okay. But watch, compare that with your rollout here. You see it? Where's your crosshair?
This is something I've actually really noticed. With my whenever I do a volley, it always feels low.
I've noticed that. I've noticed that
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Why do you think that is? I think there's a very specific reason why.
I think because I just kind of hold down and I think even unconsciously my hand kind of like goes to like clench my mouse a bit harder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I know I personally do it because I have a tendency to where like I'm just happy with body shots, so I aim for the larger portion of the hitbox, but I think that's a mistake. You should go for the head, right? Or at least aim more towards the neck. So it did obviously same thing here. Like you said, maybe you're clenching the mouse too much, but then you try to compensate and then you overcompensate. You notice that? So then you just fly it right over his head. Keep an eye on that habit. Again, another something. So like we talk about habits you can practice. Practice your movement and then practice your crosshair placement on alt fire in a game. And that's it.
Yeah.
That could be a really, really, I mean, honestly, I don't know about you. I like practicing those things. That's fun to me. Like I positioning is like fine, but like, man, if I can go into a game and just practice on like my crosshair placement and hitting shots and movement, that's very exciting to me. And it's very useful. Beyond that, I would say, sometimes your aim looks a little bit wobbly, but beyond that, I don't think there's a whole lot you could do here. I like this. You have trance. You're the best. So I like this a lot. Really well done. By the way, let's check your mechanics on this turn. I love the play. Let's check the placement. You see it? See the crosshair? It's at his butt. Right? And it's a bit wobbly again as well. Try to make it as fluid as you can. That being said, love the play. Love it. I think this is the most consistent value you can get out of trance, frankly, in Overwatch 2. Is just solo angle.
Definitely.
By the way, look at your movement. Watch this. Watch this.
My spirit burns.
Did you see that crouch?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's a habit, right? It's habit. It's I move erratically and I start crouching when I get to a 1v1. But wait a second. She's not even looking at me. What is wrong with me? You know what you should do here?
Yeah.
You get the right click. You stand still. You stand still. He doesn't know you're there. She still doesn't know you're there after the Zenyatta dies. So just stand still.
Yeah.
Stand still.
Okay.
You got me? So we want to talk about movement. Let's talk about not moving. That's also movement, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am under attack. The best defense is experience.
Sure. You're going to get primal at least out of it. Yeah, you needed to follow the Winston and then bail sooner rather than the opposite. You bailed soon and then came in late, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it was a bit awkward. So like follow here and then bail, right?
Right.
But yeah, the play itself is fine. Oh,
Yeah, I didn't. Someone woke him up. Unfortunately.
Winston, I think. Dirty. I mean, it's fine. It's actually still shuts down the play pretty well. Because now you're in a situation now where you can actually maybe get a trade here. Yeah, it was fine. Okay. We can move on to the next code if you'd like to. If there's something crucial, but it's okay. What do you see?
No. To be honest, in the rest of the code, we kind of just get rolled. So
On Rialto?
I don't think it's. Yeah, on Rialto. So I don't think it's very worth
Okay,
it.
sounds good. So, but what are some things? What are some things that we've highlighted here so far?
So
talk mechanics.
it was.
Talk mechanics first.
Okay, sure. Well, mechanics-wise, it seems like they are mostly decent. The one on the volleys, so it's
Yes.
it just aiming a bit lower. So maybe I should just take some time to just take some time to focus on when I do my volleys.
Correct.
Yeah, aiming for the head.
Yes.
Yeah, and getting rid of that bad that bad habit. And then also just with the movement, so uh try and work on basically like varying the movement between okay when I actually want to be strafing in this kind of way, and then when I should maybe be looking to just almost like not move that much, so I
Yeah.
can actually hit my shots more consistently.
Yes. 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 So it's both knowing the appropriate movement for the matchup, but also knowing when movement at all is appropriate.
Yeah.
Right. And then the harmony orb thing, right? So that was the more cooldown macro strategy thing. How would you best describe our feedback for that?
So basically, it's you 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 want to mainly just put an orb on someone, and then okay and it's fine to cycle that before the fight, but when you're actually during the fight and when you actually need to be putting pressure, maybe sometimes it's just worth just not putting an orb on someone even if they
Yes.
might need it,
Yes.
because you need to be hitting their shots and you need to be putting up more consistent
Yes.
pressure.
And
Those
that's the
moments.
rule that has exceptions, but that is the rule, right? So for you, it's going to be just as much your ability to stay focused on your mechanics, but also your foresight, knowing ahead of time who's probably going to want it mid-fight, who's taking aggression, and then complementing that, right? So like, for example, the Cassidy, right? You see your ball needs healing now, but you know your Cassidy is going to need healing in about 4 seconds. So you know what? Orb the Cassidy and hit the shots. That's probably the play, right?
I guess I guess on that, and why sometimes I'm just like sometimes I don't know who's going to be aggressive, and like even
Yes.
like with my rule of thumb, like I usually if I see a Tracer or a Genji, I'm just going to put it on them.
It's
And then
good. Yeah.
sometimes they just don't do anything, and I'm just like, oh well, my army was kind of wasted on them.
Right. So that's the thing, is you always need to read the position, right? You need to read the position. You look at the angle that your soldier's taking. You look at the Cassidy walking forward in the middle of the open. Like that needs to be the telltale signs that that's going to need support, and you need to be there for that person, right? So, okay. Let's. Any questions so far?
I guess the only thing with that foresight is how should I think about that, like during a game when I'm more focused on I need to do damage here, I can see enemies here, just focusing on pumping out damage rather than looking back at my team and thinking okay who might need it, because like things can change very
Right.
quickly in a game. So like
So if
maybe
you
I'm
were-
doing damage on an angle, and then
Yes.
the soldiers kind of in the back is like I'm not even focused on what exactly my team is doing like 100%.
Yeah.
And
Here's
then okay, now the soldiers over here.
Here's what you do: is you make these investments in the same way that you think about positioning between fights. You think about harmony orb between fights. Like right now, you have all the information that you need to know about your harmony orb. I see Widowmaker's taking an aggressive angle. I see Doomfist is engaging. So that's it. The decision's been made.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So from here on out, as you take this engagement, you're only going to cycle harmony as necessary, because everything else, all the information you need is on your screen. Right now, if the Widowmaker was replaced by Reaper, well then, there you go. You change this. That's it. So make that decision pre-fight or as the fight is leading up to. And if you have to adjust it mid-fight, it's fine, right? Like, I think it's not bad to do so. Just understand the opportunity cost and try to make sure that you're making the right decision at the right time.
Okay, that makes sense.
Check your crosshair placement. You see it? We won't hammer at that anymore, but it's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
That is at May's hips. And it's funny because you fix it once it's primary fire. You actually lifted it a little bit.
Find solace. A shadow hangs over.
I'm not going to lie with you, I'd commit to the angle. You're going to have to play hook around hook and listen, but I stick here. And I stick here and I listen, and then I take the first opportunity to rotate on this angle. There's plenty of distance and there's no dive threats, and you should know that at this point in time.
Yeah.
Because you're dead.
like
You're dead. You're cooked. It's over. because you're not committing to the angle, and then that's compromising your proximity, and goodbye. You see it?
Right.
That being said, I actually kind of respect the fact that you didn't cycle Harmony Orb there, because damage was very important. But yeah, this is your impact. You're getting Maywalled. That's kind of a bit of a flag. I love this.
Yep.
It's high risk, high reward, but you know, go for it.
Yeah. And I see my. Yeah, I try to kind of like hide, but
Yeah, you needed to commit to the bit, or
Yeah.
die. You didn't commit. Committing to the bit would be to sit out here or just rotate out here, but you didn't commit. That's all. So you're dead. Wait.
Yeah, I see them coming out. I'm like, okay, maybe I can hide over here, and then yeah, they find me there. Unfortunately.
I actually think your team might get out of the choke because of that, but yeah, they're down one. Wait, you actually just created so much space from that. Wait a second.
Is acceptable.
Wait. Yeah. Look. That's wild. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just commit or don't commit. You know, no, hesitation's defeat. You know, so.
冻住，不洗澡。
See, this is like a great example of doing the wrong thing again. That is Mei ult. Life hack. You're not going to heal anybody out of Mei ult. So you know what you need to do?
Yeah.
You need to kill the Mei, and she needs to be dead now, like right now. So you're cycling Harmony Orb here, and like kill the Mei.
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's good to point that out. I won't repeat myself anymore. I think we've both seen enough of that. But yeah, okay. Let's keep going. Like it. Good stuff. Harmony Orb and just chill. Do your thing now.
No one can hide from my sight.
Yeah, do it up. Why not? You got trance now, so you can totally ego the angle. Yeah, I love it. Good stuff. Really good stuff from you. I love this. Bit of a compositional read, right? Like, you look at their comp and you're like, okay, slow tank, no flankers.
Yeah.
Why not? You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't do this for like a diva or like a
Yeah.
monkey. Or,
Yeah, I mean,
or
this is
something.
why you're masters, right? Like, you make these reads. And this is so annoying for them. So annoying. Yeah, good stuff. I mean, no complaints from me. This is great. Push the angle, right? You got the hog. Go with it. I think I pushed the angle here from
Right.
you. Yeah, don't rotate away. Like, I think you're cooking. I think you're just like thinking about a different angle, but I think the problem with this angle is that it feels a little close, right? Now you
Yeah.
have trance, so you're free to do this if you'd like, but I think if you want to get maximize output, just go right back. Right. But honestly, I'm being kind of more of a positional nitpick here. I think the spirit of what you're doing right now is good. Well, I like this. Kind of take the angle around here. Good. Good stuff. Now start to think, where do I want to go? Is this fine? Yeah. Yeah, you're carrying here. So your Widow's hitting all the shots, but you've created all the space. Ironically, on first point as well, right? So yeah, good stuff. Love to see it. No feedback. Outside of hit more shots. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, good stuff. Any questions with any of that?
No, that
Okay.
makes sense.
冻住，不洗澡。
Yep. That's where like a mid-fight rotation is okay, but it has to be done quick because you need to shoot the Mei. By the way, check your movement out. Unrelated, but watch your movement. How should you move versus this character?
I guess shorter because projectile. Or no, hold on.
Yeah.
No,
It needs to be longer, right? Like you need to
Yeah,
go.
longer.
She thinks I'm going this way, and I tune the opposite way. If you do tight strafes, she's going to aim down the middle. Watch what you do. Watch. So you're releasing right click, and then you start to move. So watch your strafe patterns. You see the problem? It's just it's not. There's not a lot of them, but there's a couple of tight strafes in there that I don't like.
Yeah, I think is like a part of how I sort of taught myself the strafe is just trying to. I think I just been doing in general like these.
Yes.
like longer strafes and then shorter strafes. Longer
Yeah,
strafes and shorter strafes.
Most people have like a generic movement pattern that they just repeat, myself included, but that's something that you're going to want to move away from as you level up.
Yeah.
Obviously, this changes the game here. You're going to be dead here, but yeah, I think it's whatever. Okay, so this changes game. They've got double sniper. They have diva. You're going to need to be creative about the angles that you hold. And obviously maintaining distance on that diva. So this gets to be a bit of a, like, for lack of a better term, like a chess match about how you're spacing here.
Yeah.
And this is also where, like, this is where you would swap Harmony Orb to this Reaper here, right? But it would be a mistake. Why?
Well, because I'm starting to charge a volley here, so I could
Correct.
get some pretty good damage.
The damage matters now. The Harmony Orb and Reaper also matters, but the damage matters more. Do not cycle this Harmony Orb. Good. I like the rotation from you. That's fine. You got a little far from cover, right? Forgot about Hanzo, but yeah. I think this is fine. I think you guys might even be able to cap off of that.
I think maybe I could have positioned myself so I wasn't open to that angle.
Yep. You left the corner. That's it.
Yep.
So what happened is as you started to hit the shots, you drifted. So
yeah, I wanted to try and get a bit closer.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I was backing away. Yeah.
You just drifted, right? So you needed to hold here, or you needed to hold here, and you needed to commit. You were just not quite. And it's one of those things where it's like you felt like you had cover, but he took an angle. Well, they do that in Masters, right?
Yeah.
They do take angles. So you just have to be super, super disciplined about how you rotate in that regard. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, definitely get greedy with this one. So I'm gonna be real with you. I want you to cook. I think the best bet here is to sit here, and I think you hard flank.
Okay.
I think you don't use your footsteps at all. You sit here and you just annihilate, and then you trance. I think all of your angles here pretty much all cross into Widow sightlines, and I don't think there's a greedy enough angle to justify the trance. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like even getting to here is a risk, so why not just completely go crazy and hard flank?
Yeah.
You know, that's the play.
Yeah.
You did it on Rialto, and you did it well, but this one demands even more insanity, and I think you need to be stepping up. You need to be stepping up for that. Because I mean, think about it. Everything that you're doing is risk right now because of Widow. So you might as well.
Yeah, of course.
You might as well. Yeah, you just need to be like you're basically you're kind of accidentally disrespecting this Widowmaker with your silence, essentially. Where basically every time you peek, you're just gambling that she doesn't hit the shot. This is a trance right here. You can smell it. Nice. Good stuff. Don't get distracted by Mercy. Remember, your damage is too high. You don't need to worry about Mercy heals. Kill the DPS first. So if you turn this corner here, I've seen this once before. I think it was with the Ashe on second point attack. Remember when you had the trance? It's actually the same situation. Remember when you hard flanked with the trance? You actually got distracted by the Mercy again. Remember, if you hit a 5 orb, everything dies. And also, they will probably be on blue beam, not yellow beam, so it doesn't matter anyway. So don't get distracted by this Mercy. Stay on the Hanzo because easier shots. Good stuff. And then now, I don't like this, ironically. I think you end trance safe. You've created an advantage. Maintain that advantage by creating distance between yourself and the Diva. It feels a little bit accidentally, kind of like the Winston situation, where you should probably die here.
I do that.
Yeah. Just get the early value, passive angle, rather than the opposite way around. Okay. Let's watch one more fight. You got time for one more?
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep going here. Oh, I look at their comp. Outside of Widow, their comp is so bad versus Zen. Orisa, Mei. Like, there's just endless. You can just turn your brain off and just shoot. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, there might be so.
I think I do something really crazy. I tried to. I saw my. This. I was trying something new out.
You got picked. You got picked, right? Like 2 members of your team got picked, so you're like, you might as well. I actually think this is good. Yeah, why not? What are they gonna do? You know, That's fine. That's fine. You just didn't know the May was there. Let's actually watch a proper fight here. I would 100% push angle here. 100%. It's just the most direct path of the fight. You know, that's it. Most direct path of the fight. But yeah, okay. And then you don't get walled. The other thing you have to keep in mind as well is that this you've not really helped your situation versus Widow here.
No.
Right? So it's kind of similar to what was happening on third point attack when you had Trance, where you weren't getting creative enough. Same thing here. I want you to be here. Or I want you to be here. I don't want you to be here. Because ironically, you're both more vulnerable to May and Widow at the same time. I mean, I don't hate this position, but it's like you had the opportunity to do better, and you didn't.
Yeah, it's not great.
I lied. We'll do one more. Because it's so little feedback, we'll keep going. Same thing. Like, you can get really silly with your rotations here. This is not the play. This is not the play. Not. Maybe this is just a short-term thing, right? And that's fine. But you need to keep rotating here. Where do you need to be right now?
To be honest, I sometimes I don't exactly know where to be on this area.
Totally fine.
Like,
very fair.
I kind of like I kind of like bottom left on sometimes, but you know, against the Widow, or against the dive, it feels pretty.
So versus the dive, yes, I understand.
Yeah.
But the question is this position any better versus Widow?
No, because I'm not getting any value because I'm not tuning.
And you're also in a long angle on main. And you probably don't realize it, but you're also in a long angle on left.
Yeah.
So your initial instinct, which was left, is correct. You need to drop and you need to move here as quickly as you possibly can. Where at least if you're peeking Widow, you're on a long angle. And you can actually avoid the Widow and off angle from here.
Right.
So I think the rule here that we're seeing is like when dive isn't a threat, I actually want you to be a little bit more creative with your angles, especially when there's a Widow on the field. And let's be honest, this season, there's Widows on the field constantly.
Yeah, all the time.
So the reality is that you needed to be here sooner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then once you're here, just fully commit to the bit, right? Fully commit. Like you're either here or ironically, when your team dropped, you could have actually pressured here and done this kind of nonsense, right? Like you could have gone from that angle as well. So just decisively take an angle, because I think the reality is because you're so slow, if you're not decisive and prepping out your steps, you're going to get caught floating, where you're not really committing to either angle, and so you get exposed. That's the problem. Okay, let's take some notes here. We talked about Zen mechanical stuff. Crosshair placement on alt-fire, movement patterns versus different matchups, and not moving with easy shots. We talked about mid-fight harmony, prepare by expecting value, and avoid adjusting harmony mid-fight if high damage opportunities available, right?
Yeah.
And then in terms of positioning, look for earlier greed with trance on angles and safer rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
And how would you approach, like, how would you package the feedback that we just gave you about your angles? I mean, it wasn't something that we saw a lot, but maybe it's worth, like, packaging. How would you frame that?
Sorry, on my angles that I take?
Yeah, your positioning and so on.
From what I've gathered, well, we said, okay, well, you kind of like some of the rotations that I make, but sometimes it's especially against like snipers, it's and when I have tank is being, you know, being more creative with angles and, you know, hard flanks and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good way of framing it. Okay. Do you have any questions?
Gosh. I guess just one.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it's just something I noticed is that um the pace of the game um is quite, it's quite dramatically different in different in different ranks, and what I found. And so um how should I approach it as I am increasing in my rank, this like dramatic change of pace,
The
um
the the the
that I
the,
that I
s-
find.
the approach to the game doesn't change. The speed and accuracy that's demanded out of your decisions and execution is what changes.
Hmm.
So if you're not good enough at making those decisions or making those decisions quickly, you just need more deliberate practice. That's all. You
Okay.
don't need to shift your mindset. You just need to be patient with yourself and continue to work at those things. That's all.
Yeah.
But all of the things that we talked about, all the things that got you from plat to diamond and diamond to masters, they continue to be relevant. They demand better execution and quicker execution out of those things. And that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. No. Well, thank you, Skylar.